Wow, really? Like, the OSD when Geats started was so good with episode 40, and like between like Geats and King Osier, we're getting some good OSTs. Like Geats, not so much like from an overall standpoint, whereas like King Osier, it's been like banger after banger. But every once in a while, we get a good little music interjected. By the way, been really busy. Sorry about the delays. I know I'm 2 episodes behind on King Osier for reviews. I'll be figuring something out this week at some point. I don't know when. But issue 40 started right where 39 left off. We had Geats and Neon surrounded by the humans infected with the parasites of the Jamato, and they all transform, and that music is just da, 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 da. My thing is, beginning of this episode in this arc, which we find out some new information thanks to Daichi. I was like, okay, with these Jamato, they pose no imminent threat. Like Ace is OP, he can bend reality. This is his world he created, so I'm like, there's no like overall impending doom or threat, really, when you think about it. Especially because we find out the different stages. But in the beginning of the episode and last week, I was thinking, I was like, okay, like stage one, the parasite just Jamato just leaves the host. The host is fine. There's no like you don't have to hold back. It's not like with the Megid and Saber, where like, if you turned in one and you defeated the monster, the host, the person that it transformed from dies. And yes, there was, the whole upgrade that Toma got where he could technically Rider kick hard enough to split them from each other, but it wasn't always guaranteed. Whereas in Geats, with the whole stage one, I'm like, this isn't, there's no, there's no real stakes at play with the Jamato. We find that's not the case with stage two, but this is something that was like in my head through the beginning of the episode and last week. I was like, man, like, how are we need this threat. We need some sort of like stakes at play, and there isn't. Um, Obviously, we knew this was going to happen. Our good boy Keiwa and Michinaga end up joining Ace's DGP, even though there's no reward, no wish to be granted. And even though it's a DGP, there's no game, so to speak, but even though it's the Parasite games, but there's no score, this and that. The main goal right now is just find and destroy Jamato. And I'm like, all right, like, that's cool. One of my favorite things of last week's episode continues in this one. Yes, there is some action, but character driven conversations, lots of civilian like life stuff going on. Because if I had a Geats bingo card for like the last arc, the last like handful, like under a dozen of episodes left, after the way this is going, I didn't have Neon and her mother having a conversation on that bingo card, especially her mother apologizing for Nan's father, making Nan in Akari's image, and apologizing because he was so like obsessed with this, like being successful with his conglomerate. And she even has this touching moment where she even says, how the days she spent loving Neon were genuine and not lies. And the whole time I'm curious, I was like, all right, like, does she mean this, or is it because Neon's father, Timefire, is now basically arrested, being indicted, being investigated for all this corruption and like whatnot? If she would have acted this way, if this wasn't playing out that way, or is it like her kind of like, I don't want to be alone, stay with me type of deal, instead of, oh, I miss you, like I always loved you type of thing. So I'm curious how that's gonna pan out. But Neon just kind of shrugs it off. She's like, hey, sorry, I got a friend who's helping me get my place good to go. She's like, we're going to IKEA, we're getting furniture, we're getting modular displays and this and that. Like, she didn't say all that, but I just assume that's what she's doing. But like I said, a lot of interactions with people. Like Sarah and Keiwa, their interaction was really intriguing to me, because I was just like, he's a writer again, so he's like, hey, my job hunt's on hold. And I'm like, well, you know what? Like, you should have stayed at the noodle place, sir. Like, what did you do? Like, come on now. That's a good job. That is a good job. Ramen all day? Come on now. Tonkatsu ramen. Oh. Sir, you had a good job. And Sarah was just like, I'll get a part-time job to help. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, wait, so who's been working this and that? And then I forgot that Sarah already has a job as a dispatch. So now she's basically getting a second job. And I'm like, man, you know, Keiwa really not providing. Like, I was like, man, sir, like, I get it. You're a Kamen Rider now, but Kamen Rider, like, it's not going to pay the bills. We're getting our third game master. All right. His name is Jito. And I was just like, I don't know. That's our mysterious dude from the end of the episode. And honestly, after dealing with Shirami, or like annoying dude, and I've been missing Garuri so much, but I'm really hoping Jito doesn't annoy me. So far he's been I this episode aside, like so far, I'm like, okay, he's kind of a cool character. Like he throws hands, the little like binocular things on a stick. Not sure if I really like that. Like that's his gimmick, kind of like how Shiromi's gimmick was his glasses always breaking, or Jirori and his magnificent gloves. I don't know. Um. So, uh, apparently they're trying to get Baroba and Kekra to help them, Samas and Jito, and they said, "Hey, you help us, you get these premium status blackguards, which gives them premium powers." And I'm like, "What are those?" Because we know those are the same cards they use in the Laser Rays Risenizer, and I'm just like, do they even have those guns still? Like, I personally want to know, and I know the reveal of our new Jamato person grower being Daichi. I didn't pick up on it last episode. It was brought up in comments. Like maybe it's because his hair was down and they drew a little weird stuff on his face, and like I don't know, like he showed charisma for once, even though I like Daichi. Like from like not Daichi, like the whole Jamato Grand Prix. I like kind of liked him in the Disaster arc, but I didn't like that arc in general. But he's an intriguing character. Um, Apparently he's starting to get the knowledge and memories of everyone, just like his original wish, by eating Jamato babies. And I was like, all right, that happened. That's a thing. I guess we're gonna, yeah, let's just scoot right by that and not acknowledge that. And I thought it was really intriguing. Baroba was like, because Baroba had to crack that acorn, he didn't want it. He turned it down because whatever he's got going on now genetically in his body, I'm like, all right, sir, like, you're on a new level. The reason why I put this, like, not even just chronological order, just because I had to address the whole Daichi thing. But Jamato show up. Sarah's like, okay, she gets a job in one of the easiest interviews ever. She literally was like, he's like, we could use help. You're hired. And I'm like, what? Like, man, like, you know how many interviews I've gone through, like, in various industries and tech field where it's like, I've done a phone interview, Zoom interview, in-person interview, then all sorts of stuff. Like, and she just literally 2 minutes in gets a job. I was like, fine, whatever. You know what? But she starts fighting the Jamato. She puts on a little hat and broom. She even finds time to help an old lady with a walker to get away. But Daichi shows up, and that's why I had to bring up the Daichi part first, so, you know, get that out of the way. And he starts talking about the different stages of the Jamato, which confuses her. And so he says stage 1 could be expelled from the host after defeating it, and then brings up that there's a stage 2. Now, they cut off on this, and I was like, that's smart. Gives us a point of reference for a flashback, because now Keiwa is at home checking his phone, this and that. It's late. Sarah never came home. She gets a text message saying she bumped into Daichi and that he knows something about the Jamato. And I was like, And we know Keiwa has his issues with Daichi. And my thing is like, that's kind of his antagonist and everything. So I have a feeling at some point that's going to be quite the fight we're going to see. And even Kei was, asking Sumri for a powerful buckle because he's going to go find Daichi. And I'm like, my favorite thing is, I like Daichi's actor. I like Daichi as a character. It's just through the whole Jamato Grand Prix, we didn't get anything really of pertinence from him, right? But I did enjoy how when Ace and Keiwa find him and they start confronting him, he plays it off. Like him and Sarah just talked for 2 or 3 minutes and, about the parasite Jamato, and that's it. But I like how Ace knows Daichi and he calls him out on his BS. He's like, nah, come on now. And acting. I'm all about acting and mannerism as a body language. And Daichi's body language when he gets that smirk on his face, I was like, oh, That's good. Like I said, we're so far in the episode now, and I just like that it's so character driven. Conversations. Yes, we started with some fighting in the beginning, and we will get some more fighting, but like this is what I said in my review of last week's episode. I hope we had an episode or two like this to build up to something major happening. We got that major thing happening. But before that, Punk Jack is really good at being a PI because he already found Jito and Samas. Like, this was pretty quick. Like, you know, he found him. And I do, like I said, Jito as a game master, even though there's no game going, I like him as a character because him and Punk Jack threw some hands real quick. I thought it was really cool. It was like nice little combat sequence. And I was like, Punk Jack just, is that how he greets everybody now? Because he did it with Ace when he came back. Now Jito. And they're, you know, trying to convince Punk Jack to protect Sumri because that's their main goal, to get Sumri. So I'm just like, all right, this is why they're kind of letting things play out. They're kind of staying in the background watching everything else because their main target is to get Sumri. I feel like they could care less about anything else, and they probably don't, you know? So there's a cocoon where Sarah was. Ta-da! And I was just like, this isn't suspicious at all. And it cracks open to reveal a Jamato. And I don't know how I feel about good guy Michinaga. Honestly, I kind of liked it when he was like the antagonist to Ace. I liked him more that way because, like, yeah, I mean, sure, we got a cool little freaking henshin where he's just walking and henshins while he's walking. That was like cool to see, but like, I just don't know how I feel about him being a good guy right now. Like, I feel like he didn't get that real peak arc to turn him into a good guy. It felt kind of flat with that character switch towards the end of the last arc. It wasn't like major, and I feel like it should have been like that major aha, here we go, I'm on the wrong side type thing. My favorite thing is Baroba just heckling Buffa during the whole fight was so good. I was like, okay, I wish there was a little more roasting of him because I was gonna make Staddle and Waldorf, the two older dudes that are always in the balcony in the Muppets, like heckling everyone. I kind of wish she was a little more roasty with it, but that's what came to my mind because I'm old. And I thought that was fun. So action time of the episode. So we have Buffa fighting this Jamato, and then we have Ace and Keiwa going after Daichi because he turns into one of those like ancient Jamatos. So that's where I was like, oh, Daichi turning into that, if pulling up the freaking bingo card, not on there. And like, trust me, I don't have editing time to put a bingo card there, but just let's like imagine there's a bingo card right there. Okay, cool. Now, with all this, the fighting is so good. And I was like, do I make a Sand Shark movie reference or do I make a Sandman from Spider-Man reference? I really wasn't sure because, you know, I got to make pop culture references. And like, Sand Shark is a movie, it's bad, but I think they also did a 2-headed Sand Shark Attack sequel, which was just ridiculous. And I think they made a 3-headed one also, but I'm not sure. And there's like one also a beach shark. There's a few of those. And then there was Snow Shark. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll make that reference. But then I was like, oh, the Sandman, that's easy. Spider-Man's trending. Why not make a Spider-Man reference? See the dilemma I go through. Like, it's tough. But I'm curious about this power scaling because he's holding his own against not only Ninja Tycoon, but Geats Mark 9 2v1. And I was just like, what is he then? Because like, we remember Geats was dominating when Nan's secret got revealed. Like, he was just in Boost Mark 3 and then he went to Laser Boost and like destroyed everybody. So I'm like, he's Boost Mark 9. This is his reality. Like, how the hell is he just not one-shotting? You know? I don't get it. Especially with Tycoon there too. So the elephant in the room. We knew this was happening. We were going to talk about this for a while now. It's been like not even a rumor. It's just been the theory. We knew Sarah was going to die. Okay. We knew this was going to happen. Like, this was literally the only logical thing that could happen to send Keiwa over the edge. And it was done really well. Do I wish some of this stuff paid off sooner or wasn't so dragged out? Yes, but it still happened. So it's not there's a lot of plot things that I had issues with that I thought were going to fall to the wayside, especially after the disaster arc and into the Jamato Grand Prix. But we are getting some payoff for things, and it's making me happy. because I really love this episode and I loved last week's episode too. So Keiwa shows up too late. Buffa hits that final tactical strike on the Jamato, destroys it. Keiwa shows up just as the Jamato turns into Sarah. She's got the overgrowth on her. You know, he gets to slide in and hold her in his arms. You know, she's apologizing. You know, and we get the flashback that was the seed that was planted, where we see Daichi saying about what stage 2 is. And he says stage 2 is the Jamato taking over completely. And then he takes out his little beaker and a whole bunch of little baby, tiny, like micro Jamatos jump all over her. And that's how she turns into the cocoon. And this was, from a death scene, really like good, like filming. The actor who plays Keiwa nailed it. Even Sarah, she drops her little hair clip, lucky hair clip that she has, you know, which is also a callback to earlier episodes. And I was like, so good. And man, Keiwa saying, "Did you kill my sister?" to Michinaga, and he says yes, and he just runs over and just punches him. And everyone had their emotions in this. Sumri's watching on. She starts crying, and you could see she's kind of making a wish to an extent, it looks like, or she's praying like she did last time. I noticed some visual things. When she starts having tears rolling down her face, it's raining now. It's dark out. I'm like, ooh, rain. You know my feelings on rain. If we get a rain fight scene, it's over. That's peak. Okay. Ever since Blade with their rain fight scene and in the beginning of Missing Ace, you know how I feel about rain fight scenes. They are the best and I love them. But Keiwa punching Michinaga, standing over him, yelling at him. This whole, and then later on, how the episode ends. Keiwa on his knees in the rain, clenching Sarah's hair tie, just in the emotions. But every time it's thundering and it's lightning. Every time we get the lightning strike, we see a glint at Keiwa's new form, standing behind, like a little bit besides him / behind him, and I'm just like, that's a nice peek. Because I was worried we were just gonna get anger. He was gonna get the new form at the end of the episode completely, and then next week's all action. But the fact that it was hinted at it, I was like, oh, 41's gonna be a great episode. This episode did it for me. This is what I wanted for a real long time in Geats. Like, so good. I love this episode. This is one of my favorite episodes from a story standpoint. Like, a lot of elements of it were like, all right, but like when you culminate this with episode 39 back to back, like this, so much character put into it. That's what I like. This is very old school, traditional style Kamen Rider stuff from like, not show, but like more like Heisei, you know, phase 1. Love that so much. This was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm not going to go into the preview for next week or go over the new form. Like I said, I don't do the going over the preview stuff, honestly. But I really think this is going to be an interesting episode 41. I cannot wait. Like this might be a good like 3 episodes where it's just like, oh, this little 3 episode like section could be like peak for the season. But let me know in the comments what you think. I thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.